What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Go Figure. It's been a long week. It's only Tuesday. It's been quite a long week so far, so I'm taking the opportunity to do this one sitting down. But I have got a few goodies already that have come in the last couple of days to show you. So after last week's huge episode, really for me, in which we got one step closer to achieving the WCW Galoob collection. I'm following it up this week. Potentially got quite a big piece to show off if it arrives. Now I'm away for part of this week, so this may be the only ones that I actually get to. We'll see what turns up tomorrow before I do go away, and I need to wrap this for the week. But without further ado, let's roll those credits, and then let's see what's in these bad boys. So this week, now that the Galoobs are starting to really kind of take shape and nearing completion, as much as I can do at the moment, and the WWE Jax BCA seemed to, for me, has kind of gone off the boil a little bit. I grabbed a lot of the ones that I wanted straight off. Haven't really seen much around that has really taken my fancy, but it is the newer ones, the newer versions of the old classic superstars, which are really sort of got my attention at the minute, as we saw in the last one, adding, Farouk, Justin Bradshaw, Sultan, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. We got a few more of that vein to open here. These are two eBay purchases. I think, can't remember about this one. I'll say when I open it. I can't remember who's in it. This was, I think it was a Facebook purchase. Pretty sure it was a couple I grabbed from a guy, one of the fellow attendees in the Wrestling Figures UK group. But without further ado, let's get into these bad boys. So I have gone on a little bit of a selling and buying spree. So I've acquired a few pieces recently, one way or another, like you've seen, a few giveaways and things like that. Not necessarily ones that I would keep in my collection. I have managed to sell them on and boost the funds a little bit. So I went on a little bit of a spree of just grabbing the figures that I've been watching for a while on eBay and Vinted and the like, and just really just getting them while they're there, because I have had quite a few that I've dithered on and they've just gone. So thanks to me being able to kind of do a little bit of trading in between, I've been able to take advantage of just grabbing these figures. And I'm really pleased with, there's actually 4 in here. So this one here has got 2 in. So it's just 4 guys that I'm adding. These are all going into the new generation arm of my collection. So that one is really it's becoming quite exciting. I've got at least one still on the way for this collection as well, which is a bit of a late edition. Whether he makes this episode or not, I'm not sure. But the ones I do have in here are sort of top notch. Really going to be ones that I think add a little bit of flavour, and especially if we look at 96, they're guys that from those days, quality. And this one actually fits both years. So this is why I wanted this particular guy in my collection at some point, and I was very specific. I needed this version of him. So we are talking about none other than the ruler, the master, the ruler of the world, Psycho Sid. Now, I could have got, I think it's the main event version or the basic, I'm not sure, Sid Justice of his 1991 version. This is specifically the version I wanted, which is the 1995-96 Psycho Sid. So this could have been him in the $1 Million Corporation in 95 when he was feuding with Diesel and Shawn Michaels and Razor. Or it could have been the version which came back in mid-96 as a good guy, as a face, when he was brought back by Shawn Michaels to team with him and Ahmed Johnson at International Incident, which is In Your House 9. and then went on to feud with the likes of Owen, British Bulldog, Vader, and then eventually taking the belt off Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series. So the look never changed. I love the look on his face. I mean, can you get much more kind of psychotic, empty, kind of demonic smile and stare there? This was Psycho Sid to a T. I wasn't the biggest Sid fan at the time, mainly because I was a massive Shawn Michaels fan, and in 95, 96, he was feuding with him. So didn't find him nice, interesting to watch, but can't deny he needed to be in there. So really, really cool, particularly with Diesel up there and Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Let's not forget he beat him for the belt as well in early 97, slightly outside of the time frame that I'm sort of building up, but definitely belonged in that 95, 96 era. This is great. I mean, it's his attire was as basic as they come. I wanted one with the waistcoat because I think that's the bit that really kind of makes him stand out a bit more interesting. I had the WCW, I want to say Slammers version of him. Same look. Is one of the Toy Biz ones they brought out when he returned in the late 90s. And I loved it because I didn't have a Sid Justice figure from Hasbro. I had the Galoob, but I really wanted a new style Sid, and this is very, very close to it. So yeah, that's the first edition Psycho Sid. Absolutely had to be done. Staying with that, let's go to the other parcel, which was from the same seller. Annoyingly, they weren't on the same listing, and I didn't know they were from the same person. Otherwise, I probably would have seen if I could have got a deal on the postage. But anyway, they sent them separately rather than in one box. This is someone I was really, really excited about. I've touched on my love of this guy before on my podcast many times, but also a couple of episodes ago when I got his Hasbro. I've ummed and ahed about having one of his later releases. They were mainly from his like WCW, ECW days. I wanted one that fit the period that I am building, and then I saw they got this one and absolutely had to get it if I can get into it. They package these very well. A bit too well, to be honest. The camera. See what it is yet? Probably can by the colours there. Man, this one already may go to the top of my list as one of my favourites straight off. The Beast from the East, Bam Bam Bigelow. In his, I mean, this is 1995 Bam Bam. There was no other era where he had this flame jacket. This was his face run. This was after WrestleMania 11. This is during that sort of over the summer when he was friends with Diesel, and he was going up against like the $1 Million Corporation. Sadly, lost his way towards the end of '95, where he was being used. I don't want to say jobber because Bam Bam was never a jobber, but he was losing to guys like Gold Dust and the British Bulldog on pay-per-view. I love Bam Bam Bigelow. So many of these figures I want. There's one out there which has his same, like the bright yellow flames on the black from his attire, like he wore at Royal Rumble '93, which was one of the first times I saw him back when I was a kid. I love so many of his looks, but this one just is one of my favorites and epitomizes that new generation era, 1995 Bam Bam Bigelow, even down to, I love the jacket. They've got this down to a T with the flames and his name on the back. I think you can take this off. It's come undone on one side. I won't be taking it off, but it just gives you a bit of a peek of his attire. You can get versions, obviously this attire here where he had the Triple B logo. He didn't have that until he turned face, and then he had that all the way through WCW, ECW. There's a version of Bam Bam out there. I think it's an ECW one where he had this like, rather than the orange and the yellow flames, they were grey. It looks really quite dirty. I think it fit his ECW days, but it doesn't make a great look. This is what I like: the bright, bombastic, just he will stand out in when I get him up there and he's going to take pride of place somewhere. Yeah, can't say enough about his figure. Absolutely fantastic. Love it. Worth every penny. If you, like me, are a big Bam Bam fan, just referring back to my podcast a few years ago, I had the honor of talking to Bam Bam's son, Shane. That was one of my favorite conversations I've ever had. It was absolutely fantastic just to be able to talk to him, really, and share his memories of his dad, as his dad, rather than just the guy in the ring. But it was fantastic. So yeah, go back, check that out. It's on my YouTube channel. It's on all my audio platforms. So there we go to the last one for this section of the week. If I can work out a way of getting into this safely. We have taped it to hell again, which is brilliant. But not when you're trying to open packages on video. So this was a purchase, one of those awesome ones that you get in groups like the Wrestling Figures UK group. I find a lot of my kind of impromptu buys in there because they're collectors selling for collectors. They don't rip anyone off. The price is always good. The quality is great. You find some stuff in there that you possibly don't find on the likes of eBay and Vinted very often. And this guy in particular, every now and then, there's guys in the group that list, a big lot of figures, and they're like, they price them up and everything. They do good deals. And I spotted these, and I couldn't really say no. They were two on my list, particularly for this new generation arm of my collection. They were at a great price as well. So, in no particular order, how about the Ringmaster? So, before he was Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was the $1 million champion. How about that? My first $1 million belt, because I had a cobbled together version from my mate of the Hasbro one, which was basically the plate. His straps had broken, so he had glued the plate onto a WCW Galoob belt. So fair enough, I kind of had it back then, but my first sort of proper new release of the $1 million belt, which is awesome. And Steve Austin as the Ringmaster, which was a gimmick which barely even a gimmick, to be fair. I mean, I never quite understood why they gave him the moniker of the Ringmaster, because you kind of think, it's called, Bartram or whoever, the guys from like the Greatest Showman and the circuses and that kind. That's what I think of a Ringmaster. It's a good play on words, master of the wrestling ring and that. But he was just Steve Austin. Very, very quickly started to morph into the Steve Austin character, which you got a glimpse of in ECW and towards the end of WCW, and then obviously we know what happened then when he, by WrestleMania 12, was Stone Cold Steve Austin. But this was him immortalized as the Ringmaster for those few months at the beginning of 1996 when he was part of the $1 Million Corporation. Just when the corporation was starting to die out, he was brought in January. Sid had pretty much gone by then. The Kid was losing to everyone. Karma had pretty much gone except for a random appearance back in the Royal Rumble. There wasn't really a lot going on with the $1 Million Corporation, and then he brought in Steve Austin as the Ringmaster and got a little bit more credibility for a few months before he went his way as well. But yeah, awesome. Had to have it as soon as I knew that there was one out there. It's not the most interesting. He didn't have the most interesting look, really. But I like the fact he's in his green tights, because he didn't have those for very long before he started wearing black, even as the Ringmaster. But yeah, I love the Stunning Steve figure from WCW. I do love these other iterations of Steve Austin because it's quite easy to forget the great star he was before he was a rattlesnake. So yeah, very, very cool to have him. And I'm kind of steadily putting a bit of $1 Million Corporation thing together. They were probably, looking back, one of the most interesting factions to try and collect. Because I've got Sid, I've got the Ringmaster, I've got somebody else coming from. I won't spoil and put any spoilers out because he may not arrive in time for this week's video. I've got someone else from there as well. I am after a 1, 2, 3 Kid, specifically the new release. I don't think it's the Monday Night Wars version. I think they've done like an Elite Survivor Series version, like series, and they've got the 1-2-3 Kid in his attire from the '95 Survivor Series. I'm after that one. Anyway, the final figure for this portion of the show, this little bit of the haul, had to be the bad guy, Razor Ramon. Again, not one I jumped at because there's so many Razor Ramones out there. Towards the end, again, even 95, 96, before he left to go to WCW and obviously became part of the biggest thing in wrestling for a while, Razor Ramon started to lose his allure a little bit, but he was there. He was in through 95. He was in the IC title hunt most of the year, really, with Jeff Jarrett, Shawn Michaels, and then by the end of the year, got his 4th title by beating Dean Douglas. So during this period of time, I had to have a Razor in there. This one specifically because the yellow, I don't remember him wearing the all yellow attire before 95. And this kind of takes me back, I think, if I'm right in thinking, In Your House 1 is where he wore this, either this very or very, very similar in a handicap match against Jeff Jarrett and the Roadie. But this, again, you mainly saw him in the black or the purple sort of before that. 95 was the first time I saw the yellow. Might have even been Royal Rumble 95 when he lost to Jeff Jarrett. He might have worn this. But, very, very cool. Got obviously, I mean, they do well with Razor. All the Razors I've seen are very, very good. Detail wise, sort of this soft material waistcoat with the bad guy written on the back, and obviously the Razors all over. Linking back to my podcast again, if you're a bad guy fan, a really, really interesting couple of episodes I did with a guy called Tom Fleming, he's an artist, but he was actually one of the costume designers, the ring gear designers for WWF back in 92, 93. He did a little bit more from later in the 90s as well. But he was the guy behind Razor Ramon's attire and the Razor logo, all of that. He was the guy that designed Razor Ramon's gear when he first got to WWF. So a bit of a nod there, really, as well. But very, very cool. So just do pause this. Just do a little bit of a roll call in a sec. So there we go for this portion. Look at this. What a motley crew. So cool. I love that Bam Bam figure. So good. But there we go. Not bad start to the week. I mean, even if this is all I get through this week, that is a pretty cool haul to be adding up there to the collection. Speaking of which, as you'll see behind me, a little bit of an adjustment to the display. So let's spin. An impromptu trip to IKEA actually gave us a bit more storage in the house, meant I could take over these 2 cubbies here. And as you see there, the Galoob's going on. I've got my Hasbros here, finally out on display with the backing cards. That's probably one of my favourite displays because of those backing cards just really bring it together. And then up here, so we got the ring that I filled last time. This is somewhere in here. I have got to put those 4 guys because this ring is going to really specifically be for my new generation guys, which means the likes of Triple H, Badass Billy Gunn, Mankind, Brian Christopher, all the Jax guys are going to have to start to make room. And I ain't got a clue how I'm going to do that. But this is the joy of this, isn't it? We kind of buy now, think later. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it there for a minute. And maybe I'll have some more to add to this afterwards. If not, I'll be back to say goodbye properly. So one of those wonderfully frustrating moments when you're doing these kind of videos is I had filmed the follow-on part to close out this video, and it was only when I sat down just now to edit it and put it all together that I realised that my mic had run out of charge, literally about a minute in. So I've got me unboxing these great parts to close it off, and you can't hear anything. So I'm going to recreate it right now, but I haven't got the unboxing element. I'm just going to have to show you because I've unpackaged them all and, by this point. I'll try to make it as exciting as possible. So what I was going to say is it was about a week, roughly about a week, maybe just a little bit more after the initial portion of this video that I came back to it. We'd had a family trip away for a few days. I'd also took my son to another wrestling show up in Wales. So I had packages mounting up, and I had to try and get through some of them. And I'd got to a point where I've been selling. I've acquired a few bits over the last sort of 4 or 6 weeks. Some stuff that I wouldn't have necessarily kept in my own collection, so I've been able to flip those, raise a few more funds. But I've been buying a lot more stuff along the way as soon as I've got the money, because I've just been wanting to just grab these bits that I've been watching for a while before they disappear. And I had all these packages turn up and I couldn't remember what was in any of them. So it was getting quite exciting. But amongst them that I was going to finish this one off with was a couple in particular. So one of them, again, you'll have to imagine I've already unboxed, I've already unpackaged these. So I'm just going to show you. But this guy right here, the Supreme Fighting Machine Karma. This is a WWE Mattel Elite. I'm going to go on the limb and say didn't come with packaging or anything. I didn't want it boxed because it's going straight into my 95-96 collection. And this, as we all know now, this is Charles Wright. He was Papa Shango. This is the character he came back as to join the $1 Million Corporation in early 1995. And I remember first seeing the Karma character in one of the WWF magazines at the time. And I think they came with like trading cards in with them, just like a perforated sheet. You took them out yourself. And there was a couple of him. And I loved the look. I loved the hair. Obviously, the tattoos. I hadn't recognized at that point that it was the same as Papa Shango. I loved the attire. Initially, he had a white shirt underneath the singlet, which made him look really something different. He had this shoot fighter look to him, which you didn't see a lot of back then. And he was feuding with the Undertaker. Again, it was one of those moments where you kind of thought, this could be someone who can almost make the Undertaker look less powerful. And I always wanted a figure. They didn't bring out a Supreme Fighting Machine version of Karma, even in the Jacks when they came out in sort of 96. The first one we got was his Nation of Domination one, which just lacked the allure of this one, the whole look of this, which they've captured absolutely fantastically. I mean, the head scan is absolutely brilliant. I love the hair. I always loved his name, his logo across his stomach like that. It's almost like a weightlifting belt on his tights, which is fantastic. He even comes with the chain around his neck, which, for those of you who may remember back at the time, and if you don't, when he came in, he started feuding with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 11. He attacked Paul Bearer at ringside. He took the urn, stole the urn. He said on his way back to the back, he was going to melt it down and wear it around his neck. And that's exactly what he did. So within a couple of weeks, he was then seen with this massive, it was bigger than this. I think this has made it look a little modest. It was chunkier than this. And it was this chunky gold chain necklace that he used to wear around his neck. And it became known as the remnants of the urn. And then over the next several months, he would wear that until SummerSlam 95. The Undertaker beat him in a casket match and he reclaimed, briefly, the remnants of the urn, which was then stolen again by King Mabel. And that went on to the end of the year. So it is quite cool that it comes with that. So this was definitely one that I needed. As soon as I knew that Mattel had done a Supreme Fighting Machine version of Karma, I needed it. It's been on my wish list and watch list for many weeks. And I just didn't have a reason to hit the button until now. Obviously, we're looking at the 95-96 class I'm putting together. He had to be in there. So as soon as I had a few more funds in the kitty, I needed to just get him. So yeah, so really, really cool. He obviously goes alongside quite nicely Psycho Sid. and like Diesel Bam Bam, because they were all feuding at the time as well. So, you know, it looked really, really cool in there. So the next part that I had on the video was something a bit different. I still actually have it in the packet, so I can actually show you. So this was something a bit different. I'm in a few Facebook groups, not only the Wrestling Figures UK that I reference quite a lot, but I'm also in the Galoob Geeks group, which I referenced before, but also the Hasbro Heaven, which is a relatively new Facebook group, as the name suggests, centered really on the WWF Hasbros. And now that I'm starting to put a few together, they're not one of my priorities, but it's great to kind of see other people, their collections, and, you know, they're able to hook you up with some good deals along the way, you know, if you are looking for any. There was a guy in there that posted about the WWF Merlin sticker albums, because there's quite a few guys out there that collect those. As you've seen in a previous video, I've got one myself, and this particular, the 1991 Merlin sticker book, this guy had put a message out saying, anyone need any stickers for these albums, send me the numbers and I might be able to help you out. So I got mine out and I went through it, noted all the numbers down, sent him a list, and he actually hooked me up with about 60, 70 of them. So this is going to be a lot of fun, finally getting to go through and do these, you know, sticker things again. So yeah, a few packs in there, a few different ones. All the ones that I need for my book. So I'm going to have a lot of fun sitting down and sort of really going down memory lane in putting some stickers in the book. And I don't know, I'll have to see once I'm done how many then this takes care of and how close I am to completing it. But I think, as well as having, you know, a full, complete Galoob collection and whatever else I'm putting together, I would absolutely love to have this complete, because it's something that I didn't complete as a kid. I went as far as I could, and then the new one came out and my attention turned to that one, and you couldn't get the stickers in the shops past a certain point. So it's just amazing that we've got these communities around where you can actually manage to pick these things up. So thank you very much. I think his name is Ian. Thank you so much, mate. Again, I'm going to have a lot of fun going through those later on and trying to get that book completed. The final point, the final thing for this video that I was going to show, this was a gem. This was one I'd completely overlooked when looking at my class of 95, 96. He's not a guy that I thought was going to be in my collection, really. He would have at some point, but there's so many out there of him, I didn't really know which one I wanted. And I noticed one in particular, which is absolutely fits this time period that I'm trying to collect. So I was like, I couldn't believe I'd missed it. We are talking about the ringside exclusive WrestleMania 12 Ultimate Warrior. I think I've seen this a few times. I hadn't twigged that this was his attire from WrestleMania 12. And then, of course, I saw it again. I was like, that totally looks like it belongs when he returned in 96. And lo and behold, it is actually the WrestleMania Ultimate Return, WrestleMania 12. It looks so good in the box, but the rest of my collection is going to be loose. So I'm really going to literally wrestle with my conscience in taking this out of the box, but I probably will do. But I'll leave it in here for a little bit because I think the packaging is fantastic. Now, the Ultimate Warrior, he was he was sort of one of my main guys when I first got into wrestling, but by the time he returned in 96, I didn't really see he fit all that well in there. He came back at WrestleMania 12. He squashed Triple H in like a 90-second match. He then went on to have kind of forgettable matches on pay-per-view against the likes of Jerry Lawler and Goldust as well. And then just when he was sort of back in the main event picture, he was going to be there alongside Shawn Michaels and Ahmed Johnson in the main event at In Your House 9. His old demons came back and he got himself suspended yet again. But for the few months he was there, I absolutely love this look. that he had, and I love the fact that I can have in my collection a snapshot of the Warrior when he was there in 1996. So yeah, really, really happy with that. And I managed to get quite a bit. This was a vintage one. I had a few on eBay I was watching, actually quite a lot more expensive than I managed to get it for. That's why I love vintage, because you get guys who not necessarily out there to make the money. They just obviously want to pass things on, more so than the guys on eBay. So thank you to the seller. I doubt you are watching this, but if you are, thank you very much for that deal. So he'll look really, really cool. And he does actually look really cool on the shelf I've got them on at the minute in his box, but I will take him out. So that wraps up this week's video. And I know as I'm standing here recording this now, I've already recorded the next one, which is going to come out in quite a quick succession after this one for a particular reason, which you'll see when it releases. So in the meantime, I say thank you very much for joining me again for another episode of Go Figure. This new generation arm of my collection is so much fun to put together. It really started when I got that King Mabel, and I thought I needed him just because it's a cool figure, and it would be great to have more. It sent me on a nostalgia trip back to that era when I first was able to really watch it every week. That is when I got the ability to watch all the weeklies, or sort of the Saturday morning shows anyway, and really able to keep up with it. So it sent me right back there. And yeah, I'm having a blast tracking these guys down. It's so good that WWE and Mattel are giving us more of these guys that we didn't have in figure form back then. So thank you very much for joining me for another episode. Tune in to the next one. Keep an eye on the channel. As ever, if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button, give us a like, hit down in the comments what was your favourite pickup of mine from this week. Are there any others out there which fit my collection which I haven't mentioned? Put them on my radar. And keep up with me on my socials. I always love to hear from anyone who's interested in what I'm doing, even if it's just to have a chat, share your own collection. You can hit me on Instagram here, and you can also find me on my Facebook pages here. But yeah, watch the channel, keep an eye on the channel. You can go back and view any of my podcast episodes as well if you're interested in what I have done on Once Upon a Turnbuckle, or the interviews I've had with the guys from the industry. It's been an absolute blast over the last 4 or 5 years. So yeah, until next time, and there will be very, very soon, I will see you again. So take it easy. I'll see you then.
If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Once Upon a Turnbuckle to keep updated about all future shows.